And welcome everybody. We're streaming live again once to Twitch. Once again live to Twitch, for that matter. And please leave a comment if you are able to talk like Yoda on your content. And we see a new sunspot forming. Sunspot 2763. Check it out. There it is. It's in 94 angstroms on the SDO. This is a 48-hour video. And there are the time and date stamps on that one. Next, we're going to look at HelioViewer real quick. There are the fields. And no surprises there. It's a cycle 25 sunspot. And here's the view for 304 angstroms. Significant filament down there. Sorry, no custom movies today. And there's back to the 171 angstroms. By the way, please press like and subscribe if you enjoy the content. We'll take a moment for you to pause the video while I touch my face. And by the way, also please subscribe on BitChute. And thanks to our new subs on BitChute. Cheers. We gained a couple more subs over there. Good times. Let's talk about the mission. As many people may be wondering why it is that I sit around and I put Gold Bond Ultimate Healing Lotion on my face. I know it's pretty mainstream, but one of the reasons why we make the content is to assist mankind by studying and advancing the study of predictive phenomenon, to do things like optimize value and stuff like that. And so that's why I keep touching my face all the time during this time of a scary, scary, spooky, sarcastic crisis. And yeah, so anyway, part of the reason why we make the videos is to advance the study of predictive phenomenon. In other words, you have to understand the physics of things like this. The Rosetta Stone of cosmology. It's known as the sun. Let's go to the full view here. And yeah, that filament there is actually somewhat active. It could be slingshotted in any direction at any time. We don't currently see any coronal mass ejections at all, including in the Earth-facing zone. Let's look at more information. And we see a double middle finger pyramid here. You see, here's yesterday's middle finger, which we documented. And then we have a second extra extended middle finger. That's like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's middle finger, or perhaps Shaquille O'Neal's middle finger. Now over here you have, I don't know what that is. That's some kind of a Vulcan symbol or something like that. KP index is at 1. 10.7 centimeter radial flux, which for you new viewers out there is a measurement of the sun's radio output, which is directly proportional to sunspot number over a great many cycles dating back to 1947. It's down at 69, near solar minimum conditions. That line is around 70 solar flux units. And let's move on and look at where things are located in the solar system. There's where they are now. And here's where you are now. And let's look at something very scary. We see a nearly equilateral triangle, which includes Earth, the Sun, Mercury, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn, which means not very much. Because, newsflash, folks, there is not a Birkeland current traveling in between the Sun and Jupiter. There is not a Birkeland current traveling between the Sun and Uranus. Please understand the distinction between Birkeland currents and Uranus, this planet out here, as we avoid vulgarity. Anyway, here's where things will be in 1 week. As you can see, a very scary thing, a straight line here between Earth, Venus, and the Moon show up. So if you weren't horrified and frightened of something, perhaps this straight line or maybe other geometry that you may find. Again, we have a Doritos sort of a shape here to the area between the Sun, Neptune, and Uranus. Please leave a comment if you think Frito-Lay should sue the solar system. And of course, as to who should be sued. And again, we are streaming live to Twitch here, so everybody who's watching this, you may want to subscribe to twitch.tv/smAsho. In any case, here's where things like stars are, and today's featured star, for no reason at all, is one of the very bright stars in the sky, Arcturus. As the moon sets, Jupiter and Saturn and Mars all rise. So if you have a low horizon, especially before sunrise, around these times, you should see a great view of Jupiter, Saturn, and Mars near the ecliptic. And today's cosmology segment features no cosmology, but some horrifying stories about some crazy people who are saying some crazy things. I believe what they are saying in the article here about the humble bug holding the key to relieving millions of allergy sufferers is that they have determined that it is better off to leave the horrible, horrible, economically disastrous pest in place because euros consume so many antihistamines and consume nearly 2 million euros per year fighting allergens. So anyway, the point is, this bug apparently, this story is crazy, and this is insane. They're saying we shouldn't mitigate this pest because the pest reduces pollen, which is a vital nutrient of things like bees. Things that pollinate stuff, I don't know if you were aware, but things that pollinate stuff also eat pollen. So things like bees, adult bees, require pollen for their protein. And apparently in parts of Europe, they are saying that it is better to leave the pest there because it will reduce the amount of allergy concerns for the human population. A horrible idea. So in order to prevent sneezing and itchy eyes, we will allow the ecological disaster to remain in effect. So that is the official report on this nonsense. The leaf beetle can reduce ragweed pollen by 82% in the Milan area where the beetle was first detected. Up to 100% of ragweed plants were attacked, and the damage caused was enough to prevent flowering that causes pollen to be released. In other words, don't worry about the bee population, folks. It's perfectly fine. Allow this pest to test the limits of the ecology and further damage things like wild bee colonies, as well as domestic ones. In other horrifying bee news, since we just shot videos yesterday about bees, deadly virus turns bees into Trojan horses, rapidly spreading infection, not rapidly, to healthy hives. Although it's pretty bad because it allows trespassers to intrude in the hive and spread the virus. Because when bees come back to the hive, I don't know if you're aware, they vomit food all over the place. Food and liquids and other nutrients like pollen. And yeah, you can probably understand the ramifications of this. I don't really need to just read the story for you, but it's pretty bad. The Israeli acute paralysis virus. They tracked them with RFID chips, and turns out it's very, very bad news. So if you're doing stuff like spraying pesticides, fungicides, and herbicides and causing the bee population to be destroyed, you should probably cease that behavior. We would greatly appreciate it. And yeah, they're kind of important since they facilitate largely all the life on land. So they're not pollinating too many aquatic vegetables, but as far as non-aquatic vegetables, now let's not even talk about unsettled science, but hey, read SciTechDaily.com. It's a great site for stuff about things. Let's look at another view of the sun here before we move on. It's the 131 angstroms. And I could have sworn there was something else I was going to do. Allow me to not get sidetracked while I live stream. Oh yeah, we talked about M87. Yes, M87. I don't know if you saw our previous videos about it. The zoom is pretty good. So watch our previous videos. Did you know about bass fishing at night? Were you aware that dark-colored lures work much, much better at nighttime? Allegedly, it has to do with silhouetting against the sky. I don't know why white lures and light-colored lures wouldn't cause this same effect. Vibration is super important. And yeah, so if you have vibrating dark-colored lures, there's your fishing tip. I don't mind giving you one because you won't know where my spots are, no matter how many tips I give you. Are you aware about how bad people are at arguing on social media? Now, we spend a little bit of time on social media because there's a lot of information to try to inform people of, which is very difficult because of the way things like big tech operate. But in any case, did you know that a lot of people are terrible at arguing ideas and that things can break down instantly? Like, if you call me a fascist or a racist because I disliked government overreach, I won't disagree. I will turn the non sequitur, I will turn into it with things like, you're an imbecile, or the constructive criticism of, grow a brain. Because it's not because I'm a jerk, or that I enjoy total nonsense. It's because, by then, those arguers have completely failed and lost, and need to be pointed out as pathetic. So anyway, speaking of which, Joe Biden on Twitter says, in times of crisis, the American people deserve a president who tells them the truth and takes responsibility. Donald Trump has not been that president. And then I said, at Joe Biden, some of us just need a president who sniffs our hair. I've been growing mine, and you're going to love my conditioner. It's Garnier Fructis, and it smells #amazing. So Joe, seriously, let's do a photo op. Next time you're in PA, let us know. I'll stand in front of you real close, if you know what I mean. Let's go back to solar data. It's the GOES X-ray flux. And pardon my aside into edutainment, the GOES X-ray flux is totally flatlined, despite seeing a sunspot. It could evaporate, it could get named, it has to be there for 12 hours plus to do so. Proton flux is also flatlined. And here's the real-time solar wind. And it's, we have a shifty phi angle. You can see it's kind of all over the place over the past 24. We'll see if we have a wobbly ionosphere also in a minute. And there you have the thing at the stuff by the place where the dudes are by the thing and between the thing and the stuff at the place where the dudes are. Looks like some coronal hole magnetic connections here perhaps. We don't see any coronal mass ejections, so plasma's not to blame for these oddities. Current solar wind density is around 7 protons per cubic centimeter. Make it 8. Make it close to 9. Make it 7.2. Solar wind speed 328 kilometers a second. Pretty low. Here's the magnetosphere movie. And allow me to vanish. Anyway, there's 4 hours of data on the magnetosphere. It's pretty uneventful, as we have a fairly steady overall solar wind density and speed. Here's the ground magnetic perturbations coming a little closer to home. Please leave a comment if that's what she said. And just letting that advance through 4 hours during this polar excursion while we have 2 North Poles and a creepy South Pole. And I won't get into it because we don't want to make the video too long. Here's the GOES magnetometer. And it's continuing to look sawtoothed and spiky. Maybe a little like the NASDAQ around 1999 and 98. But in any case, it's all over the place. We saw some high readings up here. And I don't know what the heck I just did there, but get me out of that. So looking at the Gong 2 data, the Gong 2 data, pardon me if I'm confused, as there's a lot of stuff to cover, and we're still not done. This data is 2 hours and 4 minutes old. We're entirely in a South Pole-oriented current sheet, shown here in red. No frills, no dills. Here's the, I'm talking pickles, folks, pickles. Please leave a comment if your favorite pickles are sweet gherkins, or perhaps if they are baby dills with infused garlic. Anyway, there's a line of sight field plot, nothing to comment on there. Electrons are incredibly low. We're very surprised to see such a low electron flux. And here's the total electron content forecast. You can see, again, very low, shockingly low levels of electron flux there. Don't expect many GPS errors any place. And there you can see the graph for the GOES electron flux, extremely low electron flux. And next, looking at the ionosphere, it's looking a little wobbly once again, as it's been for the past couple of days here. So some pretty significant charge ups, especially over places like India. Actually, that's more like the Middle East. And significant discharges at nighttime also. Latest image showing a pretty normal ionosphere, at least at 8:30 UT. Next to Windy.com, here's pressure maps. And please leave a comment if you're under pressure, as I am under vast pressure to do way more things than I ought to, which is why I'll be reducing the number of things. Let me go back here. Here's today. We'll advance this into tomorrow. And I don't know how we got sidetracked, but here's where things will be at approximately noon tomorrow, Eastern Daylight Time. And if you're wondering where I'm located, it is in Lehigh Valley, Pennsylvania. West of Easton, west of Phillipsburg, New Jersey, and west of Easton, Pennsylvania. West of Easton. That sounds like a name for a band. All right, we got to make Sink Water first and the Willie Nelson covers. We've got more ideas than we have songs. Let's move on. By the way, that's the GFS forecast. And it looks like we have some significant earthquakes here over the past 24. Let's cover that. Holy cripes. Here's a 5.9 at Japan. It looks like it's south of the main islands. Also a 5.0 aftershock, apparently. And we'll scroll up the list. Here's a deep quake at Chile, a 4.1 magnitude. A 5.1 near Easter Island, at a plate boundary between the Pacific and South American plates. And we're just scrolling. And we got a lot of content coming out today, by the way, folks. Here's a 4.6 at Indonesia, a word that I have trouble saying and try not to stutter while I do. And then about an hour later, we see a deep quake at Guam. So 2 deep quakes close by in a succession. And then about an hour and a half later, we see another deep quake at Fiji. It's a 4.6 at 545 kilometers. Here's an oddball quake in Kenya, near the African Rift Zone there. It's a 4.9. What else you got? Another deep quake at Chile, not quite 100 kilometers. And let's move on to show volcanoes. Abico, flight level 8,000. Aso, flight level 7,000. Ibu, flight level 6,000. Semeru, flight level 14,000. Dakono, flight level 7,000. Rupahu, The crater lake heated to a temperature of 42 degrees Celsius. And the water level dropped, so that could be readying for a big explosion. As I understand, phreatic explosions are the sort of the most violent because of things like steam, the way water expands. Sangay exploding, flight level 20,000 there, and Revenador exploding, flight level 15,000 there. Please don't pole vault the caldera. And we've moved on to the oh my god, I'm so scared that I'm going to touch my face section of the video. And by the way, thanks Sun for reducing my terrifying fear of the spooky virus. All right, and let's talk about not any of that. Let's talk about the smashomash.com/forum. Please show up, log in, and put in your 2 cents about all kinds of various things, whether it's our nearly 28-page section on coronavirus/COVID-19, which started all the way back on January 23rd, to the Cosmology Forum, to the Earth Geophysics Forum, Heliophysics Forum, General Science Forum, Free for All, New Users. Thanks for putting up a post there, Dick Duscher. I think he understands that global warming is caused by humans through the formula 8 == capital D. Please tell your friends, tell your foes. Check out this oddly opposing rotation going on here. Located southeast of Greenland. It's pretty funky. They're rotating opposite directions. It's kind of odd. Anyway, here are the jet streams of the Western world, and they are all over the place. You can see they're doubled up here, and these meridional bends are crazy. Also some backwards flow here where it's going east to west instead of west to east. Oddities. And then here is the jet stream situation of the eastern world. Again, all over the place. Extreme meridional jet stream flow. Tripled up jet stream here. Tripled up jet stream here. Extreme bends down in the south. Check it out. Extreme bends down there. So cold air being injected toward the equator, equatorial air being injected toward the poles. You'll hear ridiculous articles about how hot the planet is. It's so hot that it's cold. Let's look at water vapor maps of Europe and Africa. There are the water vapor maps of those regions. How about the Far East and Oceania for the same time frame? How about lightning maps at lightningmaps.org? Next time you hear thunder. We're not paid to say this, by the way. We don't have any official affiliation with lightningmaps.org. We just think it's so great that we just give out the links. And hey, watch out. Hey, Benkelman. Benkelman, there's thunder rolling in right across the Benkelman airstrip. And heads up to Dundee, what is it? Dundee County? And the county designation vanished. Hey, watch out, Imperial. Man, it looks like a rural area, right? Hey, Denver. Look east. You might see sprites. There's a big storm. Kansas City. Look west. Anyway, here's the U.S. Doppler radar map. And we can see there's still some snow falling in the Rockies and in western Montana. Here's a U.S. water vapor map. And let's look at the convergence over eastern Colorado. And there's a convergence there. We got some big pressure gradients. You should see some lenticular clouds forming in these areas. Please go out and take some photos. and enjoy the outdoors. Get some UV light, get some heat, get some vitamin D naturally made through your skin. And let's move on to thank the SMASH team and our patrons and our subscribe stars, and to Diamond over at Oppenheimer Ranch Project. Look for another video coming out, the latest edition of the Diamond Anvil, Episode 5, Too Hard to Smash. And this one's kind of just about me, so I find it boring, but you folks may like it. Again, please take a moment to like and subscribe on YouTube if you enjoy the content, as well as BitChute and our other social media, as well as to the Oppenheimer Ranch Project. If you haven't subscribed over there, please do so. Check out his other links, all on the YouTube page. And please have some discernment. So in its simplest definition, discernment is nothing more than the ability to decide between truth and error. This from graceforyou.org. Discernment is the process of making careful distinctions in our understanding about truth. In other words, the ability to think with discernment is synonymous with an ability to think biblically. Well, I don't know about that, but if you want to read the quote of 1 Thessalonians, just search for discernment on DuckDuckGo. And again, we're not paid to say that either. We just prefer objective search results. So that's why I use things like DuckDuckGo.com for my searches. And indeed, have some discernment and realize that your search results may be being manipulated depending on who you're using for your search engine. So have objective results. Again, thanks to our subscribe stars and to our patrons, the true source of funding for the content. And please consider joining one of the tiers at one of those sites, if not both, as there's different exclusive content on all tiers. Now, let's zoom in on that sunspot region, which may have evaporated. Let's see. I don't see any dark ombre. So it could be a fleeting sunspot there that's already gone. And looking closer, again, there's the refresh. I don't see a sunspot. So while we did show prep, there was ombre associated with this magnetic region. And so that cycle 25 behavior is not a sunspot, but it is indeed cycle 25 in nature. As you can see, it's leading with South Pole fields. So those yellow red fields, those are South Pole. Those are leading in terms of longitude. So nothing to write home about there. And let's view one more image here. How about the 335 angstroms? One of my favorites. And if you're wondering what the spectra is of this one is another iron 16 spectra. So 15 times ionized iron, 335 angstroms. This is another 48-hour video. And allow me to be out of here. Anyway, there's that view. Thanks for tuning in, folks. Again, please visit the links, as there's a lot of work to do in 2020 as things become crystal clear. Also, I would note there's a significant filament up here and a significant filament down here to keep an eye on throughout the day. And when I say eye on, the pun is intentional. Anyway, look for more content coming after this, a lot more. Thanks for tuning in. Remember, stare at the sun, don't drink, attempt to understand the physics, and certainly don't drive, especially if you drink. And since it'll never be now again, may that solar wind be at your back.